This is a podcast about both having autism and living with someone who has autism. My mom is Sonya, and I'm Josh, and this is Josh Has Autism.
Hey everybody, welcome to Josh Has Autism. I am so happy that you're here with me today. Josh isn't feeling very well, so he's not going to be on the podcast today. So up the doc is pay. So anyway, I've been looking forward to this podcast today though, because we're going to talk about essential oils and something that I don't know anything about, but I have an expert here with me today, and so she's going to help us out. So Norma, thank you so much for being on this podcast today.
Well, thank you, Sonya. I'm really excited, and I look forward to talking with you more. I know we have a lot in common.
We do. You have a son on the spectrum.
Yeah, Timothy is 26, and he's pretty much nonverbal, but I've really enjoyed listening to your podcast because, as I was just saying to Josh, it's so helpful just to hear from a person on the spectrum, what they might be feeling, so that I can, because for me, it's a guessing game. Right. I just have to go by Timothy's behavior. So, right. So I love what you guys are doing.
Well, thank you so much for saying that. That means everything to us. There are times we do this and we're in our own little world and we send it out and don't know where it lands. so yeah. that's wonderful to hear that it's helped you. So I have some questions about what you've done to help Timothy with essential oils. So first of all, though, how did you learn about oils? When did you first, and what age was he when you first found out about the oils and started using them?
So it's been 5 years, about a little more than 5 years. So he was 21, and I work as a behavior specialist. So I work with kids with autism, and one of my friends who I was working with on a case said, here's something that, I don't know if you've looked into essential oils yet for Timothy, but I think they might really be helpful to you. So she invited me to an intro class, kind of new to oils. And I really liked what I was hearing. I had already started to make my own laundry detergent, and I was aware of some of the products I was using in my home that I thought, had adverse, they were kind of like adverse reactions that we were having from, laundry detergent and other personal care products. So I was already looking towards more natural means. So I really liked what I heard, but being the skeptic that I am, thinking, what can these pretty bottles really do for us? I did purchase a reference guide, which is kind of like, an essential oil Bible. And I highly recommend getting one of those because it really gets into the science of oils and why oils work. And it also can help you to pinpoint which oils you would need or you would want to use to support different body systems. And, a few months later, I did purchase this, what's called like a premium starter kit. It comes with a diffuser, and at the time it was 10 oils. Now it's 12. But that was really my starting point.
And so when you started, you didn't know what they could do, and you didn't know how you would really use them, right?
Correct. Yeah. Timothy struggled with sleeping at night, getting to sleep or staying asleep. He had chronic GI issues. He and I both struggled with asthma, allergies. And I just want to say now that I'm not here to cure, treat, diagnose, or describe anything, and I honestly don't feel like an expert. I'm just a mom, and but I mean, just, over the years, and I'm sure you've done the same thing too. You just, on your journey, you come across things that resonate with you, and that's what you go with. And I would believe that one thing builds on the next, and it's all part of a collective process where you have the success at the end, or the ongoing success.
Right. I agree with that as well. And, yes. And that's important to remind everybody that you're here today talking about your experience and your experience with your son, and how you use the essential oils, and it made a big difference in your life and his life. And so we're not suggesting to anybody that we are telling them what to do. Just offering this up as something that's worked, and something that continues to work, and you continue to see improvements because of the oils in Timothy's circumstances.
Correct. Right. And a really important part of my story is what it did for me, because, when I got that reference guide, one of the first things I looked up was endometriosis, because that was something that I was struggling with, and I was, we're on the path to getting a hysterectomy. But I came across an oil that was suggested, and I did purchase that, and it really made such an amazing difference to me, where I had been struggling with chronic pain. And, over, at about 3 months, it was so diminished, where I had been taking about 20 ibuprofen a day for at least 10 days out of the month to nothing, to none. So, and I feel like that, and not living with that chronic pain anymore, really gave me the courage to start to figure things out and move forward with Timothy, and kind of to fill in more of the pieces for him. Wow.
So that's amazing. I'm so happy to hear that you're feeling better. That's amazing. So let's back up a little bit. I'm a complete novice when it comes to oils. I have friends that use them. I know that certain oils can be used with animals, and I've seen the improvement when they're used. So here's what I know, that there's a bunch of different kinds of oils that you can buy on the internet, in stores, and I see them. I know that they're useful. I've seen them work. For example, let me just say that my mom was having a lot of respiratory issues. There was something that a friend of ours recommended. I bought that for her. Actually, my friend was so kind. She, you know what? As I say this, I don't think I ever paid her for it. It just reminded me. I'm gonna have to make a note. Send Maria money.
That's great.
So it helped also, and this is really what I see works. My husband Dave has 9 bad discs in his back, and his hips are, I guess, just degenerative issues, but he's in pain constantly. And when he walks a lot or has to go up and down stairs, at the end of the day, he can barely walk. Well, a couple days ago, that was the situation, and he resists everything. He doesn't want to take anything. He doesn't like. But I know he was feeling bad, because I said, "Hey, I got some Panaway. Can I put that on you?"
Oh, great!
And he said yes. And so I don't know if I'm doing this right, because I would love for you to steer me straight. But I mixed it with a little bit of virgin olive oil, and just to give it to be able to spread, and put that on his lower back. and I would say within a half hour, he was out of that excruciating pain, and was just feeling so much better. So that's my limited experience with it. So let's start with this, if you don't mind. All oils are not created equal, correct?
That's right. And if I could just go just back up a little bit more, just to explain what essential oils are.
Okay, perfect.
So they, it's kind of said that essential oils are the lifeblood of the plant. Like they help move nutrients around in a plant. They repair the damaged areas, and they can even protect a plant from harm. When there's some danger is sensed, it can emit an odor that will repel the predator. So similarly, essential oils, are able to support our bodies. So essential oils can, like when you when you break apart a leaf and the droplets come out, like those are the essential oils. So they're like the plant juices from, leaves, the stem of a plant, flowers, roots. And in the case of citrus, the rind is cold pressed, and the essential oils are extracted that way. They're really tiny particles, and many of them have the ability to pass through the blood-brain barrier. So they have constituents which can clean cell receptor sites. They can actually mend damaged cells, and they can also stop the growth of irregular cells. So that's really powerful. And there's science to support this. There's research. So that's why they work. And as you said, like not oils are created equal. Like if you're getting a bottle of lavender from Amazon for $4, like I can guarantee that is not pure essential oil. And sadly, there really are not regulations for essential oil. The one thing that the FDA requires is that 5 to 10% of pure essential oils be included in a bottle of essential oil, but then it can contain 90 to 95% of, additives, toxic chemicals, carrier oils, like things that are not pure. And for people who use essential oils with the hope of supporting their body systems and moving towards a more toxic-free life, you really want the oils that are tried and tested. And that's why I would only use Young Living essential oils. And actually, it's kind of ironic that we're talking today, because this is the week of Young Living's annual convention, which is, so usually I would be in Utah right now and with 35,000 of my, other oily, good smelling people who are in a great mood. But yeah, sadly we're doing this online, but it's still exciting. We are having like different watch parties and things, but I've had the opportunity 3 years in a row to visit a Young Living farm in Mona, which is about an hour from Salt Lake City, and that the great thing about Young Living is that they have farms across the world. They own the farms and they work with partner farms, and you can visit them. You can interview the workers. You can see the whole seed to seal process, which is how plants are, all the testing that's done from the seed to the very, through the distillation and through the very last step of where it's bottled and then available for people to purchase on their website. So that's just been wonderful. And it was funny, when I went in 2017, and I was posting pictures on Facebook, people were like, "You're so happy. I've never seen you so happy." And I just think, like, do I always look so miserable? But I think it's just, as a parent of a son with autism, like, you don't get out much, so this was a huge thing for me.
Yes. Isn't that the truth?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because the oils, I always think about the oils being used on your body. But I had been using, there's this product, trying to limit the chemicals around the house. Because, well, for all of us now, and I should probably, I'm just going to say this. I started being very particular about what I was using, not because of Josh, but because of the dogs.
Okay.
Because little Einstein, yeah, he and his brother Oliver were rescued from a puppy mill, and they had a lot of issues. So I really had to limit what they were exposed to. And then as that went on, I realized, well, if they're being affected by it, then Josh is being affected by it, and then we're being affected by it. So I went to something called Dr. Bonner's that I felt like, well, then I'm not going to be using all these chemicals. But you can correct me if I'm wrong about this, but can essential oils can be used for cleaning too, right?
Yeah, in fact, Young Living has a whole line of cleaning and personal care products based on Thieves Essential Oil. So Thieves is a blend of lemon, eucalyptus, clove, cinnamon bark, and rosemary. And I don't know if you're familiar with that. There's a story that Gary Young had come across. Gary Young was the founder of Young Living. And there's a story about in the 15th century, there was a plague in all over Europe, and there were robbers stealing from the sick and the dying, and they never got sick. Like they were, going into their homes, taking things off of the bodies, and they were finally caught. And then in exchange for a lighter sentence, they had to give up their secret of why they were not getting sick. So it's kind of timely for today. But they were wearing masks and also I did read another report of where they rubbed herbs on their bodies that included lemon peel, rosemary, a clove, and cinnamon bark, so that which are like cinnamon bark and clove are very high in antioxidants. So he took that information and created the blend Thieves, which is great for supporting. I rub it on my feet every day or on my spine. I alternate it just to keep me my immune system working optimally. So you can get. There's a Thieves household cleaner, which is the only cleaner that I use in my home, and it's so concentrated that the bottle lasts about like 4 to 6 months, depending on how much you clean. You really just use a capful in a 16-ounce or 32-ounce glass spray bottle. But you can also get dishwashing detergent, the liquid dish detergent, and then there's toothpaste, and I love the toothpaste because it doesn't have fluoride, and I've had really good dental checkups, and we all have. So
yes, I seek out toothpaste that does not have fluoride in it, and if I just say, it's hysterical to me that you just described mindful criminals.
Right. They were pretty crafty, I guess, right?
Right. Like if they could figure that out, you just kind of think that they could actually have a profession that didn't include stealing from other people.
Right.
Yes. And you mentioned clove. Thieves is another one that, remember I told you my mom was sick, and my friend sent her stuff. One of the things was Thieves. And I think...
Did you pay her for that one?
No. No. So I'm under double lining this. Send Maria lots of money. So funny. No, I did not. And that's so funny. As soon as we get done today, I'm calling Maria. Going, I just realized that I ripped off money and didn't. Yes, she's so sweet. She's the one that helps me with animals. So especially cats. She uses essential oils with cats, and I know that you've got to be very, very careful with that. You can't just use any oils with cats because they're very sensitive.
Right. Their digestive system is different than other animals, so their bodies don't eliminate oils in the same way. So and again, like there's all kinds of stories circulating on the internet, but we have several people on our team that use, I don't have cats, but they use, Young Living essential oils, and they do fine. You just, if you're diffusing, you're going to want to have a door open that they can escape. But we also have a team member who has a black lab who loves to lay by the diffuser. Oh. So, animals they'll know what they want. And I think in the same way, like kids and adults do too. And that's one of the ways that I do use oils for emotions with Timothy. Like I'll open 2 bottles and I'll let him smell them and let him tell me which one he wants. So that's a good way. And he rarely will refuse an oil. Mm-hmm. He likes it. like he'll point to his feet, and that's kind of his way of saying he wants some oil. So just to cover this quickly, the 3 ways to use oils are diffusing, or aromatically, so where you'll either just open up a bottle and smell it, or you can rub it on your hands and breathe it in, or you could use a diffuser. Another way is applying it topically, like you did with your husband, and like using a carrier oil is a great way to do that. So it doesn't dilute the oil, it just slows the absorption rate. And then the third way would be to take it internally. So Young Living, again, is the only brand that I would take internally. And there's actually a whole line of vitality oils, which have white labels, which are designated as safe to ingest. So you can either make a vegetable capsule where you you drop some oils in with carrier oil, and then you can take that internally, or you can put some in. I like to put drops of lemon in my water, just to get I'm drinking enough water each day. You can cook or bake with them. I like to make peppermint brownies. So yeah, it's super fun.
And also essential oils. I have a friend that puts the lemon drops in her hot water every morning, just like you're describing. And I had a toothache one time and was told to use clove. And I didn't know that's what early dentists would use that. That's what, numbs your mouth. And,
that's right.
And so I put some on a Q-tip, put it back in there on my mouth, around my tooth that was hurting. First of all, I didn't realize it was going to taste so bad. And after that, I didn't realize that it was going to be hot. And then after that, I didn't realize, my lips are numb. So it really works. I would just say if you use clove for a toothache, it's going to work. Your tooth is going to feel so much better, but try not to get it on your lips. Right. Because it's hot. It's hot.
And that brings up a good point too, how Young Living essential oils especially are so highly concentrated. So I think 1 drop of peppermint is the equivalent of 24 peppermint tea bags. But it, so then, and also the oils vary, people say, well, just a bottle of oil. Well, they vary according to the number of steps it requires for distillation. So frankincense is, it comes from tapping. It's like getting the resin out of a tree, so it actually bleeds out the resin, and then that has to be distilled, and I think for 3 days. So that's pretty labor intensive. So a bottle of frankincense is is more valuable and more pricey than a bottle of lemon, which is pretty easy to distill. So,
well, I really want to get into how you used oils to help Timothy, and also I think that this is huge. I want to know through the oils, he lost, using the oils, he lost 70 pounds.
Right. Yeah, and as I just want to say, like, it's, you know, like when you embark on this, it's a lifestyle. So yeah, I started with, you know, getting the starter kit, and the first oil I used was lavender. I put that in the diffuser in Timothy's room, and that was the first time he slept through the night, and you know, in I can't remember how long. So, and again, over time, you know, if you continue to use the same oil, like your body gets used to it, and you really need to change it up. So I've added, sometimes I add cedar wood, or I just use a different blend for nighttime, because there's so many, like there's, you know, Peace and Calming, and Valor is great, you know, so it really depends on your genetic makeup. So one of the big things too for him was he had digestive issues, you know, diarrhea, constipation, and he was on medication for, you know, to support his mood, which led him to, you know, he was gaining 20 pounds a year. Mm-hmm. And I kept saying every year, you know, every few months we'd go to the psychiatrist, and I'd say, come on, like there's got to be something else. And he said, you know, well, is he aggressive? Is he, you know, well, that's improving, but yeah, but look at him. Like he's starting to not be able to enjoy the things that he loves, like bike riding and rollerblading and jumping on the trampoline. And, you know, then soon we're going to have heart issues because he's so heavy. So I was, you know, just looking into several different things. So he had already been on a gluten-free diet, but then we added, you know, for him to be off of dairy, you know, we started seeing some improvement, and I very slowly took him off of that, the medication he was on, the prescription, and because I saw that he was showing improvement and he was benefiting from the oils I was using for emotions. So like putting things on the rim of his ears, like Valor, that was really helpful. And lavender, and also like frankincense I would put on the top of his head at church when there were babies crying or toddlers that, you know, are not his favorite. Or he just struggles with that, you know, that level of noise. Or that frequency, I guess. So just, yeah, over time, you know, as we started swapping out things, and another big thing that we did was, adding Thieves cleaner, you know, the Thieves laundry detergent, taking out, you know, we used to use dryer sheets. Now we use dryer balls with like lemon or lavender essential oil, or citrus fresh is a nice one too to put on dryer balls. So through that alone and everything, the changes we were making in our home, my son and I no longer needed allergy shots. Wow. So, and again, together with, you know, I also reduced my dairy, and I think that has a lot to do with it too. Like you can't supplement yourself to health. Like it just has to be that you're eating good whole foods, you know, and you know, just from the plants and less processed food. And I also stopped eating gluten for the most part. So we were able to take allergy shots out of our routine, which was huge, you know, because we would go every week and they would have these Charms Tootsie Roll lollipops there, and Timothy would grab 2 handfuls, you know, and even like as a man, like these kids were like looking, you know, aghast, like, why is this man allowed to have 9 lollipops, you know? So all the sugar too, you know, so that was huge for us to take that out of our weekly routine. But through all of these things, and also we started with, you know, well, he had been taking probiotics, but Young Living has a great probiotic called Life 9. So we started using that, and just slowly, I just think, you know, his gut, you know, which some people call the second brain, where like 70 to 80% of your, you know, your immune system and serotonin is produced in the gut. So that's why I think we saw the initial gains, and that's why we're continuing to see them even today. And one thing I do want to add that I think was also instrumental was Camel Milk. Just something that's worth looking up. We get raw camel milk frozen. We get it sent from Colorado, from ColoradoCamelMilk.com. So, and there's also like a 10% off code, speak up if you're interested. But camel milk has a lot of healing properties for the gut. It's great for normal blood pressure levels, normal sugar, levels of glucose. So I think, that's been helpful too in his journey.
How does that taste?
Just the same as milk. Some people think it's a little salty, but Timothy was super skeptical because he hadn't had milk probably since he was like 8 or 9, and he was like, I think the look on his face, like, you want me to drink that?
Yeah.
So and it's like a supplement. It's not like you drink gallons a day. We started at 1 tablespoon once a day on an empty stomach, and then we went to 2, and we slowly moved up to like 2 shot glasses a day. That's right. Where he's at now. And if he's ever like struggling with something like below the wellness line, we bump it up for a few days, since it's great for immune health too.
Well, I've been a vegan for probably 7 years. And I do drink, almond milk, and there's variations of that. There's almond milk, there's cashew milk, there's
coconut milk.
Coconut milk, yeah. And I like the coconut milk. That's probably my favorite of all of them. But and Josh doesn't. He only has milk like if he's having cereal. So I wonder if I can try that with him to see if that would. Josh is very particular. So there's been a couple of things. For example, I've been a Reiki master for a long time, and he does not want me to do Reiki on him. He doesn't want it. He doesn't want it. He says no. And, gotta respect how he feels about it. And and he doesn't want it. He just doesn't want it. And so it makes me wonder, when you use the oils, was Timothy ever resistant to that? Or how did you, initially have a conversation with him about why you were doing what you were doing? Because, a lot of things, that are new, for somebody on the spectrum, it's just it can be difficult. Anything that's new.
Yeah, and they do say to go low and start slow. And what they mean by that is just you could start with oils on the feet that are where the person, if they have an aversion to smells, they wouldn't smell them as much, or you could put socks on over it at night. You could do it along with them. Diffusing might be a good thing, where, some of the diffusers, all of them have a setting where you can turn the light off. So it would be less noticeable. Like there would just be like a stream of the, you would just kind of see it a little bit coming out of the diffuser.
I like that one because his room wouldn't smell so bad.
Yeah, that's funny. There's a good oil called Purification. It's a blend, and it's really great for like stinky sneakers or big boys' rooms. That's one of our favorites. Or if you could forget to take the garbage out with broccoli in it or whatever. Yeah. And I feel like we didn't. I honestly, I can't really remember that, now it's just become such a way of life. But I think also Timothy just started to feel better, and he saw the correlation between that, and he was willing to do it. And I feel lucky that he was also willing to take pills, because there are, different supplements and enzymes that he takes before eating. Or like if you happen to get gluten, there are different Young Living supplements, enzymes that will give him then too.
With Reiki, oftentimes I will use crystals during a Reiki treatment, and essentially the theory is that because the crystals come from the earth, People, a long time ago and much, much smarter than me, made the connection that certain crystals can affect certain chakras within a body, and all that is it's an energy, excuse me, kind of an energy wheel, but it's how it helps to keep a person balanced or imbalanced energetically. And so crystals can be used for different chakras. They have these properties so that they have a vibration, and you can match that crystal with the chakra, and it can help to raise the vibration, and thus it can facilitate healing. And I heard that that oils can clear chakras.
That's correct. Yeah, and I that's something I'm constantly in the process of learning. So that's something I'm still learning about. But that's true because oils also have vibrations. They have a frequency, and you can even people have reported they just have an oil. They carry it in their pocket, like the whole bottle, and they they notice a difference of how kind of in the same way that EMFs. And, what's resonant, coming off of your phone can have a negative impact on your body. Just carrying an oil in your pocket can have a positive effect.
And sometimes, too, I would think that you can put drops of oils on you and you can mix them, right? I don't mean that you would put them in the same place. But what I'm getting at is that if I'm going to use crystals in the same way, often I have to find small crystals. Otherwise, I got these rocks in my pockets and I can't. And, right. And so you can use different oils on different parts of your body at the same time?
Sure. Yeah. When I get ready in the morning, I have this whole routine where I start with Valor on my spine because that's shown to really activate the cells so that all the other oils I put on after that are more, they're more readily received. So I use, actually what we were just talking about, Purification, I use that as a deodorant. And what else? I put Digize around my belly. That's an oil that I used for Timothy for digestive health. It's a blend. It has like fennel, anise, ginger, tarragon. All oils that are great for digestive support. I'm just trying to think. There's so many that I put. Yeah, I might put frankincense on my head. Just lavender. And if I have any discomfort. Again, I might use Panaway. If I had worked out the day before, just need a little extra support. Thieves. Yeah, put Thieves on my feet or spine. So it's multiple oils. And even, just as an example, Timothy fell off his bike a couple weeks ago, and this was coming off of a period of 8 days or 7 days where I had been in the hospital 8 times for visiting my dad who had broken 4 ribs. So I was just so over the whole hospital thing. So when he fell, I was like, we're just going to work on this at home first. Like, I'm not going to the emergency room. So I consulted some friends. I checked my reference guide, and I also scanned Timothy because I have this iTovi scan, which you hold in your hand, and it also reads your body's frequencies and suggests oils and supplements that you may benefit from, like at that moment. So it was very interesting. So I was able to give him what his body needed, and then I kept applying, a bunch of oils on his cut. First helichrysum, which is great. It was really helpful in just stopping the bleeding. And then just putting different oils, lavender, frankincense, those were 2. And myrrh were really great for, just applying every, half an hour. And that's the thing too, like it's not like you can overdose. Like you can just, almost in the same way that, you have a headache, or the old days, I used to take a Tylenol, and then, an hour later, I'd still have a headache, so I'd take another one. So it's sort of the same thing where where there are people who say, yeah, I tried that essential oil once and it didn't work. Well, you might have to keep using it if you do have an issue. Like I just use it daily to stay above the wellness line, but then if there is something brewing, then I just use more frequently.
Well, I think it's like if somebody says, "Yeah, I went to the gym once. It didn't do anything."
Exactly. Yeah.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
yes. And the side that I'm always interested in too is like, on the podcast, people know that listen to it know that from the time that Josh was a little tiny dude, I would ask him how he felt something, like especially like after when he got the diagnosis at age 7. I've always been interested in how he feels, what's happening inside his body, because I recognize that having autism for him was, and I didn't know anybody with autism before Josh. Well, let me correct that. I'm sure I knew people and they were just not diagnosed. And because, our kids, Josh is 31 and Timothy is 26. Uh-huh. And, these were times when, when our guys were little boys, there was not the information that there is now, or the understanding that there is now. Although I will take this minute to say there is not enough out there for adults with autism. It's like it just stops, doesn't it?
I agree.
18, boom. What are they?
Yep.
Where'd you go? What happened? All the help, all the, it's kind of gone. But so I've always asked Josh from the time that he was a little guy what he was experiencing, and that's because he would screech. He was not verbal for a number of years, but he would screech. And at any rate, that's where we came, his whole life we've just he's been asked to describe what he feels in his body, and if he can tell me how he feels just in general. So we're talking about emotions. And so I want to know, oils can address a person's physical well-being, but can it address emotions?
Yes, absolutely. And that's something where that I don't want to say I ignored that for several years, but since Timothy couldn't talk and tell me, I'm sad or I don't like this, I would just keep doing what I was doing until he...
Oh, are you there?
Sorry.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm hearing that. That was weird.
Yeah, that was... Well, Mercury went retrograde today. so
I believe in that stuff.
Yeah. I mean, me too. So yes, you were saying that you ignored, you didn't know what he was. You were explaining about how you were using the oils with him initially.
Right. So initially, I was just addressing physical issues that I could see, and then I could tell if there was an improvement. And then over time, and this has really been probably like the last year and a half or 2. Well, I did dabble more in the emotional oils. So there's oils. The oils have different colored labels, and the ones that are like more pink and purple are generally known to be, more for emotions, for feelings. So, I guess I had used them, but it was not with that intent.
Right.
But knowing that, I wanted to get him off the medication, which was contributing to his weight gain, I was much more intentional with putting oils on, like before there would be a crowd, or before we would enter an event that might be stressful, which I could see, as a behavior specialist, like I could just see his, he might squint his eyes more, or kind of hang back, and even if he wasn't whining, like you could tell he was unhappy. So just being proactive and applying the oils in advance was very helpful. And, I just think it's a testimony to, how well they work, in addition to the dietary changes that we had made, because now, he moved into a licensed home about a year and a half ago, which was a very difficult decision for us, but the opportunity arose, and it was really, I think it was just something we couldn't pass up. And he, it was a struggle at first, and they had to record all the behaviors that were occurring. So it was sometimes like 25 to 30 behaviors in a month, which it could include, attempted biting, grabbing at people's arms, bruising them, just running, charging at them, hitting, to now it's, now a year and a half later, there's maybe one or two occurrences per month. And it usually has to do with, there's a change in routine, there's a misunderstanding, maybe staff, didn't do the social story in advance, like we're not going here, we're going here instead, or we can't do this because, but also they are applying oil several times a day, like in the morning and then, like noontime and then again at night. So it's just, it really, and it makes a difference for me too. I have to say, like, even before getting your call today, I put Valor on, because Valor is considered like liquid courage, and I don't consider myself a very eloquent public speaker, but it's just like chatting on the phone to you. But hopefully it went okay.
Well, I think you're doing fantastic, and I think the information you're sharing is wonderful. When you use the oils with Timothy, how long did it take for you to see and connect that there was really something changing in him? I know that you say you changed his diet, which I think is huge. But when you started using the oils, did you connect his, and if you could describe too the improvements? I'd love to hear about he lost weight because he was off the medication, so that's fantastic. That's, boy, and is he a healthy weight right now?
He is, yeah. It is. I think he may have, gained like 5 pounds back, and it is a little difficult that he doesn't have his full routine of the Ys are closed and,
right.
He's somewhat limited, but luckily he's still able to go out for bike rides and walking. But, a lot of the other things are closed, the trampoline park, but hopefully they'll be reopening soon. Certain things, it was immediate. So, like the lavender, the diffusing for, for nighttime. And there's another oil that I love called Release. It's a great oil to put on your liver. But also, like when Timothy was still living at home, he would, he's a young man with a healthy appetite. And my husband and I would be cooking in the kitchen, and he would just be, opening every pot and just, like almost like, all right, when are we eating? When are we eating? So it's a little unnerving when you're trying to do things. So I would just put some Release on his ears, the rim of his ears. And then, like a minute or two later, he would just go in his room and just, hang out there till dinner was ready. So, it just, did that work or did he? But I just feel like it was consistent enough. I used it, and then that was the result. So I really believe that was, that was the reason. And things like, for digestive health, like sometimes it takes a long time, but I really believe, you can heal there's a person I follow on social media, Jody Meshchuk. She wrote a book called, How I Brought Back My Son from Autism. So she actually has another book coming out, but she's a great person to follow. And she says, you can heal the gut at 2, 22, or 92. And I love the Master Cleanse. I've done that 7 times. And I've had a change in my own health and weight. I've lost 30 pounds over the last few years. And, which is, it's very freeing for me, since that I struggled with body image for years. And anyway, so that's just a great thing. Like, it's fun to shop for clothes now. Things fit. And there is, another thing that we haven't really even addressed is hormones, and for women, that's huge, but for men too, and boys. And I just think like that's, men, or I've noticed like there's some months are more pronounced than others, but I feel like Timothy kind of goes through a funk during like a cluster of days in the month. And sometimes I do see a correlation between, with that and the full moon so, but there are, oils too that are, very supportive of hormones. And I think it all kind of goes together. But yeah, there are definitely some that you see a change over time.
So, the full moon, I definitely see a difference in Josh's behavior. And I've said that before, and people are like, no, that's ridiculous. I go, hold on a second. So do you believe in low tide and high tide? And they're like, right. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, so you're saying like the moon phases can affect entire oceans, but not our, but not our beings, not our bodies. How does that make sense? So yes, I absolutely follow that and believe in that. And Josh doesn't participate, but I have full moon ceremonies every month. And wow. And use smudge sticks and release what no longer serves me, and so I do all that stuff, and he doesn't want anything to do with it. He kind of he kind of rolls his eyes and goes the other direction, but he's used to it by now anyway.
There's an essential oil called sage, so I do diffuse that. And for Timothy, since he sometimes has difficulty a few days before, up until 2 days after the full moon, if he's home during that time, I'll definitely diffuse that. So I just think it's just good to know, yes. I just keep track, when is the full moon, and just, I might let the staff know. You might want to use some more extra oils, or if we know there's something in his schedule that can be trying, then we will beef up the oils a little bit more.
Right. And what I think about all of this is that when you have a child with autism, whether they are nonverbal or high functioning, there's this thing that happens that as a mom or a dad that's just difficult, and that is sometimes when you just can't reach them. It's hard for me to even put words to right this second, but it can feel devastating. It hurts. And one of the things that it sounds like you've seen the effects of using these oils with Timothy, even when you're cooking and he's in there kind of going from one thing to the next, opening pots, very excited or agitated, and to use an oil and then to see him calm down, that has just got to be a wonderful feeling, to know that something so healthy as this oil really does help him to feel better.
Yeah, it is such a blessing. And and the one thing I didn't mention was just, I feel like there are definitely cognitive benefits, and that's something that's happening slowly over time. And I think it just all makes sense. He's eating a good diet with, organic fruits and vegetables and meats, and, his body is slowly healing. The toxins are being released from his brain. We also do Epsom salt baths with essential oils, and just different things. We do different detoxes, a couple times a year, but we are really starting to see him connect the dots more, and things that he'll do without asking. He's very cooperative. And I that's why I feel like I really want to get back to either like speech therapy or getting, he does have a voice output device, which he's not really fluent on. Like, he's going to need some training on it because he just likes to press the buttons and hear, like, non-dairy ice cream, French fries, whatever. He just likes to hear that, thinking like, oh, maybe they'll magically appear here.
That sounds good to me.
Right. So, but I would love to, I see that, more of an interest in hanging out with his staff, just connecting, being, rather than isolating himself, just being with people more and desiring that. So I look forward to that. And I feel like there's always hope, like I remember like when Timothy, here in Pennsylvania, you can go to school until you're 21. And I just was like in such a panic, like a few months up to graduation, but he doesn't have a job. What are we going to do? And what, and he didn't have a job. And I just, I did start to, and this was again when we were just starting with oils, but I just really, developed a piece about this, first of all, that God has a plan for Timothy and he, so there's no need to worry, but also that, like, my daughter, who's 2 years older, there wasn't a job waiting for her at her after college graduation either, so, and people change jobs, and we all do. None of us, or most of us, aren't at the same job that we were. And I just think it's just a process. And for people that have delays, it may all just be delayed. But I really am so grateful to have found the oils, because I just think it has filled in a lot of the gaps and just how he's feeling physically, because who can be in a good mood and avoid aggression if you're just feeling bad all the time and you can't tell anyone. So right. That's been great.
Right. And Timothy is nonverbal, but he sees everything, doesn't he?
He does, yeah. And it always irritated me when people would like talk in front of him as though he were deaf. And I still, I know, like, the behavior specialist will come out, or, some supervisors have to come out and talk to staff. But it's like, I wouldn't want people saying in front of me, like, hey, did you have a BM yesterday? Like, how did you behave? It's like, come on, just, if you could just do that, because he has excellent hearing. Like, even from a young child, he could hear you open a bag of potato chips from the other side of the house. So there's nothing wrong with his hearing. So, but and the one thing I do want to add too, like, for me, just as a mom, it's just, as you know too, autism is so isolating. Like, when Timothy was little, and we discovered ABA, we were hiring and training therapists, and I was graphing and laminating and making sure that the therapists had all the materials. And even like when there were snowstorms, I would sit in the chair and I would do the drills. But it was so isolating, and it really, that has, continued through much of my life until I, found the oils and the whole community that comes along with it. Like, locally, there are other people who use oils and are as passionate about them as I am. We have classes, we have make and takes. There are tons of Zoom calls, there are online, social media. There's lots of resources to learn more and to connect with people, even when you can't see them or you're in a different state or country. So it's just been great for me to have that community and just people I can reach out to, that I feel like I always had my autism people, just other moms, and that's been great. That's been such a great support for me over the years. But to also, walk hand in hand with people who have, the same health goals, or who appreciate, natural living. Right. That's just been so beneficial for me.
Right. I think a lot of times that's just how it is, moms and dads get lost in the constant, doctor's appointments and therapies and whatever, school systems, and dealing with teachers and principals and counselors and learning support. And it just, all the adaptations, it is something you go from being a person to then getting lost. And so I know what you're talking about, and I'm so happy to hear that you kind of found yourself again, and your well-being, and it's so awesome. And so you started this to help Timothy, but you also, this is what you can sell this. You do sell this, and I think that you're would be an awesome connection for people with family members on the spectrum to get in touch with you. So how can people get in touch with you if they would like to?
Well, I'm on Facebook as Norma Rugen Orban. That's RUGEN ORBAN. I'm also on Instagram, just Norma Orban. Or people can email me. It's NORBAN at epix.net. That's EPIX.net.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so anybody, anybody, like I said, that has any family members or themselves, if they wanted to, just use the oils to they can get more information from you, and you can help them to, stock up on the things that can help the most, right off the bat. So, yeah,
absolutely. I'd love to do that. And the one thing I do want to say, like, some people will just, go on youngliving.com and order, and that's fine, but it does matter who you sign up with. So I do have a referral link. And then, like, I would be your person. I can help you through the process and, whatever questions you would have, and just to help you with resources. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, it's just been fun building that community, that team, of people.
Yeah, people that all smell wonderful.
Right.
Oh, yeah. That's fantastic. And I hope people do listen to you here in this podcast and then contact you, and excuse me, we can see some positive changes taking place for people on the spectrum. I know that when I'm going to do this, I'm going to find out the information. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm doing right now. But yes, with help, I can figure this out. And Josh said, I did ask him, how I said, like, he doesn't want Reiki, he won't let me put crystals on him or anything. He won't even put a crystal in his pocket, unless it's one that's really smooth, that helps him to calm down. And it has to be like a blue-green, very smooth, and he will rub that to help himself calm down. But he said that he is willing to use the oils. So,
oh, great!
Right, good. Right. So yeah, we're gonna, order this and get started, and I can't wait. I'm excited about it, and also my husband too, just to be able to help him, like put him on some. I'm assuming, because I know that the Panaway helped him so much. Then if we did it on a regular basis, I would think that he would just feel better a majority of the time. Yeah,
so, I bet he would. I mean, and there are, there are many different things that help with discomfort. Like there's deep relief. There's Young Living now has CBD oil, which is there's a roller, there's a tincture, there's a muscle rub, which is great. So, and those are also, just very pure and have, go through all the steps that Young Living requires of their essential oils too. So you can feel confident that you're getting a good product with those too. And Timothy does use the tincture too. It's officially, you apply it topically. So he applies it topically under his tongue every night, or, the staff helps him with that.
Mm-hmm. Fantastic. Norma, I have enjoyed this conversation so much. Thank you for coming and on the podcast and sharing all your wisdom with everyone. I really appreciate it.
Well, thanks for having me. This was great. I definitely felt an immediate connection with you, so I'm glad we were able to do it.
Yes, me too. So thank you from me and everyone that's going to hear this. We appreciate you so much.
You're welcome. All right.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye now.
Everybody, thank you so much for hanging out with us again. We really appreciate you so much. And Josh will be back next time, I hope. And anyway, let's check us out, SonyaKing.com. And love you. Bye.